And then the big news at the show is ProRes RAW, where we can take our RAW files and record them into ProRes RAW compression.
And you're the only company to provide a camera that can do that right now, right?
Well, we're the only company that will provide, we're the only new camera that's doing it. There are some other cameras, our Vericam LT is supported by it, so that has 4K up to 60, 2K up to 240. There are some other companies that are also delivering they're being supported, they output in RAW, but those are generally older model of cameras, and none of them have up to a 5.7K in resolution, so we have the highest resolution. So we're sort of the premier camera, if you will, for running this system. And I will tell you that it's a beautiful thing. It's not just that it's nice that someone's supporting our camera, but it's also that RAW has been something where I wouldn't quite call it a science experiment. These things work. However, it is something that people have to you have to have some real knowledge base behind you. You have to have understanding of what the systems are doing, and you have to tailor it to each camera and each workflow system that you have. It's a lot of work that's involved in that, whereas now with ProRes RAW, your camera just goes to the recorder, it recognizes what it is, it goes into the metadata, and you take those files off of here, you take the drive, you just stick it into your Apple computer with running Final Cut Pro 10, and the files will just drop right on the timeline, and away you go. Our log, our LUTs, the conversion, were all built into the computer already, so it can just drop those in if you want to have your own personal ones or whatever, but it all just sort of works efficiently together, and it's sort of, I call it RAW for the masses, if you will, because you don't have to be, there are a lot of people who are very technically aware and will explore every possible avenue how to do it. A lot of people are just, frankly, I'm a filmmaker who's an independent guy, and I'm the director and producer of my work, and I'm doing something for a client, and I can learn a lot of technical stuff, but I don't really have the time to be really worrying about running this machine. I have my interest, I have other things that I'm concerned about as a filmmaker. I care about making my film. The tool should work for me instead of me having to figure out the tool. And so this kind of takes all that junk away. Now I can just use it just like anyone who takes video files and drops them into Final Cut today and just works with ProRes, it just works, just very simple. Well, this just works, and that makes our RAW enabled to be used in these kind of systems, and it's very powerful. You still get all these benefits out of the RAW and really rich, beautiful files, and the system doesn't render it out of RAW until the very, very end, so you have the ability to get what this camera can reproduce, even the HDR that this camera can reproduce, which is pretty amazing stuff. A $7,500 camera that delivers you 14 stops of gorgeous dynamic range with the Rec 2020 colors. It's just really, really powerful, and now it just makes it available for everyone to use in a very simple way.
And it also means there is another big news. This camera has been approved for Netflix, is that right?
It is. So even with as much as the RAW is fantastic, even with the all-eye internal recording codec, we are now Netflix approved, so that this camera can be used for any production that is, sort of for Netflix, that they're contracted to make something for Netflix. It's always the question of if I shoot something and then I sell it later to Netflix, but it's much better when they agree to pay for it beforehand. So they're doing their $7 billion or whatever it is of production next year. It's a huge, huge thing. It's great to be able to, you look at this list of cameras, and way down at the bottom in cost is EVA1, but way at the top of performance is EVA1. So 5.7K capable camera, it's pretty amazing that you're able to do that with this little machine that, oh, by the way, it's great for doing, documentary work or squeeze into a tight space. It's a camera that has dual native ISO for high-speed shooting. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's another option to it. So we're really happy with that, very proud of it.